Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Tuesday, June 21st, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to leave your baseball picks in the comment section below. Now, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. I'm running a daily $15 MLB best bet, so check it out at Pick Dawgz Premium. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Tuesday, June 21st. First up, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the Miami Marlins. We're going to see Ryan Feltner and Daniel Castano as your starters for this one. Now, this is an interesting game here. The Rockies don't really play well on the road. The Marlins are a game above 500 at home, but the Rockies are coming off a 3-game sweep over the Padres at Coors Field. The Marlins weren't very impressive in their series against the Mets, and I do like the Rockies, at least in the first 5 innings of this contest, because I do think they have a pretty big starting pitching advantage, despite what the ERAs may show. Feltner, 4.85 ERA. Castano's yet to give up an earned run this season, but I do like Feltner's game going forward. 29 strikeouts in 26 innings, pretty low whip at 1.15. The only issue in his game has been the home run ball. He gives up a good amount of hard contact, but the Marlins aren't necessarily the strongest team in baseball. They do have a lot better power numbers against righties than lefties, but Feltner already faced this Marlins lineup. He only gave up 1 earned run. It was via the home run ball, but 7 innings, 4 hits, 6 strikeouts. That was a 7-1 Rockies win at Coors Field, a hitter-friendly ballpark. Now you're pitching at a pitcher-friendly park in Lone Depot Park. I think Feltner has a fine start here. And on the other side, Castano being a lefty, the Rockies do hit lefties a lot better than they do hit righties. Even on the road, the Rockies have been formidable against lefties this season. Castano only 5 strikeouts in 10 2/3 innings. I think that's going to come back to bite him at some point. I think in this start, the Rockies get to him early. Don't trust this Rockies bullpen whatsoever, so I'm going to take the Rockies in the first 5 innings on the money. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds hosting the Los Angeles Dodgers. Tony Gonsolin and Tyler Mahle are your starters for this one. Now, Tony Gonsolin is 8-0 with that ERA below 1.5, but you look at his xFIP number at 3.68, a little bit worrisome there. He's only got a 182 BABIP, and for those who don't know what BABIP is, it's batting average for balls put into play. With the league average being 300, we can assume that there's going to be some regression in Gonsolin's game, and with the way the Dodgers' bats have looked as of late, I don't really want to lay this kind of price with Los Angeles, especially on the road, and especially facing a pitcher in Tyler Mahle that is pitching really well as of late. In his last 15 innings, he's only given up 8 hits, 1 earned run with 22 strikeouts in that stretch. Really, the whole month of June so far has been strong for Tyler Mahle. I think he pitches well enough here against the Dodgers offense that, like I said, is struggling. Did not look good against the Guardians at home. Struggled against the Angels even in that 2-game sweep. It didn't do too much. Some injuries in that lineup are also holding his team back a little bit. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Reds on the run line, getting the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, this game, like a few others we're going to see on Tuesday, I'm missing some information so far. We don't see an official starter listed for the Rays quite yet. We're used to seeing this from Kevin Cash, as he likes to go with bullpen games very often, where he doesn't necessarily announce his opener until the next day. We can assume that the Rays are going to be going with a bullpen spot here. Nestor Cortes for the Yankees, and Cortes has pitched really well overall this season, but his last few starts, he doesn't seem the same. Even in that Rays start last time, where he went 5 1/3 innings of one earned run ball, he still had 3 walks allowed in that start, 3 base hits. The Rays had plenty of opportunities to score there. Their offense hasn't been the best as of late, so they weren't able to. But Cortes, in the previous start to that one, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 homers to the Twins. And I think on the road in this spot at Tropicana Field, I think it's going to be a little bit of a different story for Cortes and the Yankees. I think they struggle in this spot. I'm interested to see who the Rays decide to start. It's going to be a big piece of information for what we're going to decide to go with here. But right now, I'm leaning towards the Rays here on the money line at home. They have played very well against the Yankees at home in recent seasons. And although they haven't gotten the best for the Bombers quite yet, I do think they get the W in this spot. So give me Tampa Bay on the money line. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Matt Swarmer and Roansy Contreras are your starters for this one. Now, I do think both of these pitchers have their fair share of issues that I would worry about going forward in their games, but I do think Roansy Contreras is the better option, and with the Pirates being at home, I'm going to take Pittsburgh on the money line here. Matt Swarmer, last couple starts haven't been very good at all. You look at his last outing against the Padres, 3 2/3 innings, 4 earned runs, a home run allowed, 5 walks allowed in that game as well. The previous start to that one against the Yankees, 5 innings, 7 hits, 6 earned runs, 6 total home runs, so 6 solo shots allowed in that start. The strikeout numbers aren't bad per se, but they're also not very good. And I think Roansy Contreras actually has the better strikeout stuff going forward. Although Contreras is susceptible to the home run ball because of his hard hit percentage and average exit velocity, I still think he's the better option here. But like I said for Monday's video, I think this is another kind of a coin flip type of game. I do give the edge a little bit more to Pittsburgh though, so I will take the Pirates here on the money. Next up, we see the Washington Nationals taking on the Baltimore Orioles. Now, we don't have an official starter listed for the Orioles, so no official lineup for this game quite yet. But the Orioles have played really good baseball at home this season, whether they're the dogs or the favorites. They're 17-16, so a game above 500 at home this year, despite being 8 games under overall at 30-38. Nationals haven't been very good at home or on the road. They're 8 games under on the road this season. I do think this is a beneficial matchup for the Orioles offense against Eric Fedde. The Orioles last season were really solid against left-handed pitching, not so much against righties. This year, it's complete opposite. They're much better against righties than lefties this season. And Eric Fedde, a 4.88 ERA. He's given up at least 3 earned runs in each of his last 4 outings against a mix of teams. The Mets, the Reds, the Brewers, the Braves. Strikeout numbers are down. The walks are way up. And although we don't know the Orioles starter right now, I can tell you that this Baltimore bullpen has been a lot better at Camden Yards than on the road this season. I like their chances to get a win here. We saw them play really well and compete in that series against the Tampa Bay Rays, where they won that series 2-1. They even competed in that Blue Jays series on the road, where they split that series 2-2. I like their chances in this spot. Give me the O's on the money line. Next up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Boston Red Sox. Bo Brisky and Rich Hill are your starters for this one. Now, to me, this is a game where I'm going to take the Red Sox on the run line or just pass altogether. The Tigers have been miserable on the road this season, under double-digit wins overall, 8-18 this season at the time of recording this video. Red Sox a game above 500 at home, so a little bit better record on the road. But Rich Hill's a guy that can get you some good innings. He didn't have enough to get the win against the A's last time out, but he still wasn't too bad. 5 2/3, 3 earned runs allowed. He's not a guy that's going to get a ton of strikeouts, but he's also not going to give up a ton of walks or home runs either. And against Bo Brisky, I think the Red Sox offense has a favorable matchup here. When you look at Boston overall in the last 30 days, they're number 4 in baseball in team OPS against right-handed pitching. Against isolated power, the numbers aren't as strong, but still right up there in the top 15. And I like their chances against Brisky, who's not really striking out a ton of guys. Last time out was probably his best start of the season, but I'm not willing to back him in this spot on the road at a hitter-friendly ballpark. I'm going to take the Boston Red Sox here and lay the 1.5 runs. In our next game, we see the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Minnesota Twins. Now, for now, we see the starting pitchers of Aaron Savale and Joe Ryan. We could see a pitching change as there's no official lineup for this game quite yet, but if these are the starters, I do like the over in this game. Recently, the Guardians lineup has not been very good against right-handed pitching, but the Guardians are still winning baseball games and scoring runs overall pretty well as of late, and this weather is going to benefit them, I believe. Against Joe Ryan, a pitcher that had a little bit of an injury towards the end of May, missed a few starts, and he wasn't very sharp in his first start back against the Mariners, where he gave up 4 earned runs and 2 home runs. And the home run ball is something that I'm really worried about in Ryan's game. Before he went on the injured list, he was giving up a ton of fly balls, and although those weren't being home runs, his average exit velocity and hard hit percentage wasn't bad, his barrel percentage is in the bottom 36th percentile in the league this season, and we saw that become an issue in that start back against the Mariners. So I do think the Guardians lineup overall that has hit righties well this season can get to Ryan in this spot. But I'm certainly not going to trust Aaron Savale here against the Minnesota Twins lineup that in the last 30 days has been number 3 in baseball in team OPS against righties and number 7 in baseball in isolated power against righties. The power numbers are more important here, as Savale gave up 2 home runs and 6 earned runs against these Twins back on May the 13th in 4 2/3 innings of work. That was a 12-8 Guardians loss in that game at Minnesota. The weather looks really good for hitters as well in this spot, and I'm going to take the over in the Guardians-Twins game. Next up, we see the San Francisco Giants taking on the Atlanta Braves. Now, we don't have an official starter listed for the Giants quite yet, but we should see Spencer Strider for the Braves And I've really been impressed with Spencer Strider this season. Now, he does walk a lot of batters, which is the only thing I think he has to work on right now. But he's only giving up 2 home runs in his 44 innings this season with 68 strikeouts, coming off a start against the Nationals where he went 5 2/3 innings with 11 strikeouts. That was an 8-2 Braves win. The Braves have won 4 of the last 5 starts that Strider's pitched in. And if the Giants do decide to go with a bullpen game, we don't see an official starter yet, so they may decide to go with a bullpen game. I don't trust the San Francisco bullpen to do too much in this spot against the Braves lineup that's been good against righties and lefties as of late. I do think the Giants have one of the weaker bullpens in the National League West this season, and I would not trust them to go 6-7 innings in this one on the road at Truist Park. I'm going to take the Atlanta Braves here for now and take them on the money line. In our next game, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Texas Rangers. Kyle Gibson and Martin Perez are your starters here. Now, Martin Perez, I am a little bit worried about his game. You look at his last couple starts against the White Sox and Tigers. His last 12 innings, he's given up 20 base hits, 7 earned runs in that stretch. And although he gave up only 1 earned run in his last outing against the Tigers, still give up those 8 base hits, and base hits are starting to pile up, 7 at least in his last 3 outings. Going up against the Phillies lineup that's number 7 in baseball in the last 30 days in team OPS against lefties, top 15 in isolated power against lefties in that stretch as well. And Kyle Gibson, although he's not always the sharpest, we've seen kind of inconsistency from Gibson this season. He did pitch well in his last outing against the Marlins, a good lineup against righties. 8 innings, 1 earned run in that one, 6 strikeouts, and a 3-1 Phillies win. The Phillies have won all 3 of Gibson's last 3 starts, and the Rangers have not hit righties at all this season. In the beginning of the year or now, in the last 30 days, they're 25th in the league in team OPS against righties. I think the Phillies deserve to be bigger favorites in this spot. I like Philadelphia here on the money line. Next up, we see the New York Mets taking on the Houston Astros. Trevor Williams and Jose Urquidy on the mound for this contest. This is an interesting game as I do not trust either starting pitcher whatsoever. And you look at the New York Mets, they're top 10 in baseball in team OPS against righties in the last 30 days and overall this season. The Astros at the beginning of the year hit righties very well, but they're now outside the top 10 in the last 30 days against those right-handed pitching. And I think Trevor Williams is the slightly better option than Jose Urquidy in this spot. And you're giving me plus money with the New York Mets team that does have the better record and a team that's made a ton of bettors a lot of money this season. They've been one of the more profitable, if not the most profitable team in baseball this year when you bet them on the money line or even the run line at times as well. Jose Urquidy's given up at least 3 earned runs in each of his last 4 starts. Strikeout numbers aren't there. The walks are starting to pile up. At least 1 home run allowed in each of his last 5 starts as well. I don't think this is a very good spot for Urquidy or the Astros. I like the New York Mets here on the money line, getting the plus money. In our next game, we see the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. This is going to be on national television on Fox Sports 1. Now, we're going to see Jack Flaherty for the Cardinals, but we don't see an official starter for the Brewers. It was supposed to be Aaron Ashby, who's the original listed starter, but it looks like he has been scratched for the start, so we're going to have to wait and see who the Cardinals decide to go with. Now, if they are facing a lefty or Ashby in this one, I do like their chances, and I also do like Jack Flaherty's chances to bounce back from that rough start against the Pirates. You know, it was kind of a weird start for Flaherty. He didn't give up a home run, did have 3 Ks and 3 innings of work, but he ended his line giving up 4 total runs, 2 of those being unearned. So his defense, which is usually the Cardinals have one of the better defenses in baseball, didn't help him out in that particular start. But against the Brewers, a lineup that hasn't been very good against righties or lefties in the last 30 days, I think Flaherty has a decent start here. I would say even better than decent. I think he has his first real good start of the season. And I think there's a lot of value with St. Louis, especially, like I said, if Ashby is the starter who's really struggled as of late, going up against the St. Louis lineup that's been very good against lefties this year, I wouldn't like Ashby's chances. So right now, I'm going to take the plus money with the Cardinals. We'll wait and see who the Brewers decide to go with on the mound, but I think there's some value with St. Louis here. Next up, we see the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Chicago White Sox. Kevin Gausman and Dylan Cease are your starters here. Now, I've mentioned the last couple starts that Gausman's had. I am concerned about Kevin Gausman's numbers, and not even just the numbers, the way he's looking on the mound as well. Some people say they do the eye test when it comes to pitchers, and if you've watched Gausman, you've noticed just something has been off with his game. 2 1/3 innings, 7 hits, 7 total runs, 5 earned runs. Last time out against the Orioles, he has just not been himself. He had a really good start to the year for Toronto. Didn't give up a walk or a home run for the longest time and was striking out a good amount of batters. But those strikeout numbers have plummeted. The walks are starting to creep up. The home run ball hasn't been an issue, but Still, I'm not really convinced with his game right now, and Dylan Cease has been super sharp this year for the White Sox. 2.91 ERA on the year, coming off a start against the Tigers. We know the lowly Tigers, but 5 innings, 8 strikeouts, no earned runs in that one. The previous start against the Dodgers, he didn't give up an earned run in that game, but he did give up 6 unearned runs. So his defense hasn't always backed him up, but I think in this spot, the bats will back him up here against Gausman. I like the way the White Sox looked against Gausman not too long ago. Give me the White Sox here on the money line. We're getting plus money with the home team here. Give me Chicago. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Jonathan Heasley and Reed Detmers are your starters for this one. This has got to be one of my least favorite games on the board, as these two starters have been really hard to read, in my opinion, this season. At times, I've said they've got some regression to worry about, and then at times we've seen Reed Detmers throw a no-hitter, and Jonathan Heasley have a really strong outing as well for the Royals. So I just don't know what to think about these pitchers right now. But what I do think is that the Los Angeles Angels overall haven't been the same as of late. You know, sure, they look pretty good in Seattle, and they were able to win those games in the doubleheader as well. But I still don't think they deserve to be laying this kind of price, even with a no-hitter pitcher on the mound. Reed Detmers, we've seen some inconsistencies in his game. We've also seen the Kansas City Royals hit a lot better overall, but most importantly against left-handed pitching in the last 30 days, where they are top 15 in WRC plus against lefties in the last 30 days. So to me, the value's on the dog here, at least on the run line, but like I said, not a game I'm going to be touching. Give me Kansas City plus 1.5. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the San Diego Padres. Zach Gallen and Sean Manaea are your starters for this one. I mentioned this is going to be a tough spot for the Padres going forward a little bit without Manny Machado and the first couple games off of that Coors Field road trip. I don't really like their chances, at least not in a blowout against the Diamondbacks here, with Zach Gallen on the mound, who, overall is pitching really well this season. His last couple starts haven't been his best, but I was impressed in his last outing where he went 7 innings, only 2 hits allowed, 2 earned runs, 5 strikeouts against the Reds. Sean Manaea, the only problem I had seen in his game is the home run ball he's very susceptible to, and that's a problem when you're facing the Diamondbacks, who basically only get their runs via the long ball this year. They're not very good in terms of on-base percentage or even OPS, but when it comes to slugging and isolated power, Diamondbacks are a very, very strong team, and I think Manaea is in trouble in this spot, coming off a start giving up 2 home runs to the Cubs, 5 earned runs, 8 base hits. I think the value is also on the underdog in this spot. Give me the Arizona Diamondbacks plus the 1.5. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Oakland A's. Marco Gonzalez and James Caprillion are your starters here. I'm going to take the Mariners here on the money line. This is going to be our final game of the night, by the way. Marco Gonzalez, he didn't pitch very well against the A's last time he faced them, but the Mariners were still able to get the win in that game, and I think that goes to show the Oakland A's bullpen is not very good, and I think James Caprillion is the inferior starter here. I don't really think he's a viable starting pitching option at all for any team right now. Caprillion 0-4 with a 6.31 ERA, only 27 strikeouts in 41 1/3 innings, a 1.5 whip, giving up at least 1 home run in each of his last 5 starts, 6 walks allowed and 5 earned runs allowed in his last outing against the Red Sox. That was a 10-1 Oakland A's loss. They've lost the last 3 starts that Caprillion has pitched in. I think the Mariners lineup's a lot better than Oakland's. I think their bullpen's a lot better than Oakland's as well. I also think Marco Gonzalez is a slightly better option on the mound for the Mariners. He's not giving up nearly as much hard contact or average exit velocity as we've seen in years past, as he's actually above average in both categories this season in terms of starting pitching. I'm going to take a shot here with the Mariners on the money line on the road. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday, June 21st. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.